We served for the sake of Allah and await our reward in the eternal life.
In Sinan's architecture, the dome was the very center of gravity of the entire structure. The whole composition was formed around its support. Combining technical mastery with creative vision, Sinan achieved a perfect harmony, becoming an entire era in traditional architecture. He used domes in mosques, baths, mausoleums, and many other buildings. When examining the upper part of Sinan's structures, focused around the main dome, one can see a clear support system. Through intermediate and auxiliary elements on lower levels, the loads and forces from the dome are transferred down to the foundation. Sinan employed three main types of dome support systems: square, hexagonal, and octagonal. Over his lifetime, he developed 4 variations of both the square and hexagonal types and 3 variations of the octagonal. How does a dome bear its load? A dome, as a spatial load-bearing shell, is used to cover buildings with square, polygonal, or circular layouts. It transmits vertical loads, such as its own weight and snow, to its surface to the base. When the horizontal component of the force becomes significant, the dome is reinforced by a tension ring. Sinan used domes in mosques, madrasas, baths, and mausoleums, applying different building techniques. This element carries loads through internal forces, evenly distributed across its thickness and acting parallel to its mid-surface. Today, the impact of loads on a dome and the internal forces they create are calculated both theoretically and numerically using the shell theory. If the load distribution is optimal and the support method is chosen correctly, the dome, aside from point loads and temperature effects, primarily resists distributed forces such as weight, snow, and wind through membrane action. This is why historical domes, even when built from materials with low tensile strength compared to compression, can carry loads with minimal thickness and thus with minimal material consumption. Materials of Sinan's domes. In traditional architecture, domes and vaulted systems were often built from Khorasan masonry. Khorasan is crushed and ground-fired brick or roof tile. Khorasan mortar is a mixture of Khorasan powder and air lime. This mortar was widely used in Byzantine, Seljuk, and Ottoman structures, including those of the 15th century and later. In Sinan's constructions, domes, vaults, and arches were made of Khorasan masonry, while walls and piers were made of stone. Another common material was kagir, a composite made from natural stone or fired clay brick, bound with mortar. Kagir can stand up to compressive forces up to certain limits, but has very low tensile strength. Therefore, the load-carrying capacity of such structures depends on the quality of materials, precision of construction, building techniques, and environmental conditions during the curing period after completion. Kagir is a heterogeneous material with a density ranging from 2.1 to 2.2 tons per cubic meter. He carved the sky with stone and left an empire standing on his shoulders. One man turned domes into dreams and dreams into monuments that defied time. Mimar Sinan was not merely an architect. He became a symbol of an era when the Ottoman Empire reached the height of its power. His works formed a bridge between East and West, blending Islamic spirituality with engineering genius. This story will take you deep into Sinan's world, from the mysteries of his biography to the secrets behind the construction of the greatest mosques that defy the passage of time. An architectural revolution, the scale of his legacy. Over his long career as chief architect of the Ottoman Empire from 1539 to 1588, Mimar Sinan created more than 400 significant structures. Among them were mosques, 81, prayer halls, 51, madrasas, 55, Quran schools, 26, mausoleums, 17, charity kitchens, 17, hospitals, 3, aqueduct systems, 5, caravanserais, 20, palaces, 36, storehouses, 8, baths, 48. Mimar Sinan remains one of the greatest architects in Ottoman history, whose works still inspire awe to this day. Here are 10 of his most renowned creations, presented for a modern audience. 1. Süleymaniye Mosque in Istanbul. Süleymaniye Mosque, which he called his work of the journeyman, is one of the largest mosques in Istanbul with a unique architectural composition. Located in the Atik district, it holds immense religious significance and is considered one of the most important structures of the Ottoman period. It stands near the Egyptian Bazaar and the Grand Bazaar. Construction began in 1550 and was completed in 1557. The mosque was dedicated to Şehzade Mehmed and commissioned by Sultan Süleyman the Magnificent, with the participation of all branches of the state. Among the people, it became known as the mosque that will never collapse, symbolizing its extraordinary strength. Beyond its role as a place of worship, the mosque also served as an educational center. Part of its complex housed a madrasa. 2. Selimiye Mosque in Edirne. Selimiye Mosque in Edirne, which Sinan proudly called his masterpiece, stands in the city of Edirne and is regarded as one of his crowning achievements. It is a jewel of Turkish Ottoman art and world architecture. Commissioned by Sultan Selim II, the mosque is distinguished by its 4 soaring minarets and by its site selection, a testament to Sinan's skill as an urban planner. Built of finely cut stone, the mosque covers 1,620 square meters inside, expanding to 2,475 square meters, including the courtyard. Its dome rises to 43.28 meters, with a diameter of 31.3 meters, surpassing even that of Hagia Sophia. The dome rests on 8 massive columns connected by arches 6 meters wide. 4 corner domes and a semi-dome over the mihrab reinforce the central structure. Selimiye is celebrated not only for its architectural brilliance, but also for its exquisite decorations, stone and marble carvings, colorful tiles, intricate woodwork, and shimmering mother-of-pearl inlays. Its mihrab and minbar are masterpieces of marble craftsmanship, while the Islamic tiles, made with the underglaze painting technique, represent the finest examples of 16th century Ottoman ceramics. 3. Şehzade Mosque, Istanbul. Şehzade Mosque, which Sinan referred to as his apprentice work, belongs to the early period of his career. It is located in the Kalanderhane district on Şehzadebaşı Street, number 70, directly opposite Istanbul's municipal palace. Commissioned by Sultan Süleyman the Magnificent in memory of his son, Şehzade Mehmed, who died young, the complex included a mosque, a charity kitchen, a madrasa, schools, and a mausoleum. Construction began in 1543 and was completed in 1548. The mosque's plan is square, with a central dome measuring 18.42 meters in diameter, complemented by 4 large semi-domes. The main dome rests on 4 massive columns, with 4 smaller domes positioned in the corners. 4. Mihrimah Sultan Mosques, Edirnekapı and Üsküdar. 2 mosques of Mihrimah Sultan in Istanbul, one in Edirnekapı and the other in Üsküdar, stand among Mimar Sinan's most significant works. The legendary story of Sinan's love for Mihrimah, daughter of Sultan Süleyman the Magnificent, has echoed through the centuries. Mihrimah, born in 1522 in Topkapi Palace, was given a name in Persian meaning sun and moon. At the age of 17, she was married to Grand Vizier Rüstem Pasha, despite Sinan's deep affection for her, an affection he carried though he was older and already married. At her request, Sinan began building a mosque complex in Üsküdar in 1540, completing it in 1548. Many believe his feelings for her are reflected in the very lines of stone. 5. Rüstem Pasha Mosque, Istanbul. Commissioned by Mihrimah Sultan in honor of her husband, the Grand Vizier Rüstem Pasha, this mosque in the İminönü district is famous for its dazzling Islamic tiles and is considered one of the most richly decorated in the Ottoman Empire. In 1970, Newsweek named it the most beautiful historic mosque in Europe. Construction began in 1561, after Rüstem Pasha's death. Built on a high platform with shops and storerooms beneath, the mosque not only generated revenue, but also stood out in the city skyline. Its tiles, masterpieces of Ottoman art, are said to surpass even the architecture itself. 6. Kılıç Ali Pasha Mosque, Istanbul. In the Kasim Pasha district stands the mosque of Kılıç Ali Pasha, the Grand Admiral of the Ottoman fleet. Its story begins with a bold vision to build a mosque on the sea. When Sultan Murad III refused to grant him land, Kılıç Ali Pasha ordered the sea to be filled in at Tophane, creating new ground for construction. Work began in 1580. Designed as a smaller-scale homage to Hagia Sophia, the mosque features a grand central dome, semi-domes, and sweeping arches. The complex includes the mosque, a mausoleum, a madrasa, and a bathhouse. 7. Haseki Complex, Istanbul. Built for Hürrem Sultan in the Fatih district, the Haseki Complex was Sinan's first major project as chief architect. Commissioned in 1539, it included a mosque, a madrasa, a school, a charity kitchen, a hospital, and a fountain. In 1550, Sinan added the kitchen, and in 1612, the mosque was expanded by Sedefkar Mehmed A. 8. Atik Vale Complex, Istanbul. Constructed for Nurbanu Sultan in Üsküdar between 1570 and 1579, the Atik Vale complex comprised a mosque, a madrasa, a Sufi lodge, a school, a hospital, a kitchen, and a bathhouse. The mosque, built on a hexagonal plan with a central dome, was later expanded in 1582 to 83 and again in 1835 to 1835. 9. Sokollu Mehmed Pasha Mosque, Istanbul. Located in the Kadirga district, this mosque is another of Sinan's elegant creations. Built in 1572, the complex includes a madrasa, a Sufi lodge, and fountains. It is believed to have been a gift from Grand Vizier Sokollu Mehmed Pasha to his wife Ismihan Sultan. The site was once home to a church, possibly that of Hagia Anastasia. 10. Kara Ahmed Pasha Mosque, Istanbul. In the Topkapi district stands the Kara Ahmed Pasha Mosque, whose construction stretched over 15 years due to the execution of its patron. The complex features a mosque, madrasa, school, mausoleum, and fountain. Built on a hexagonal plan, it was restored after the earthquake of 1894 and again in 1969. Its wooden elements remain exquisite examples of 16th century craftsmanship.